Now, nodes, lunar nodes, are the road we travel on the unconscious side. This is the backdrop of our life. This is our environment that we see and experience. And it shows us the direction in life. The past is the south node, and the future is the north node. So, karmically, with regards to you living your life experience for you, this life that you're living, where you're designed to be, and so forth, these nodes, both the unconscious and the conscious, are places that you've developed or maybe even overdeveloped in the past because you're moving towards the north node. And that shift happens later on around the midlife. So the emphasis is going to be on the first node if you're younger. If you're around your 40s, it starts shifting over to north node. So that's the emphasis that you want to place for yourself, depending on where you are. Now, this is where the magic happens. It's a really cool place in the body graph. So what we're doing is pulling you deeper into your own process, because this is where everything happens. This is your stage. The unconscious nodes are your stage. Where the magic happens is how your life is transformed with regards to how you see life and people and everything in it, yourself and everything else in it, your perception, where you get to live the nuances and the beauty of your nodal trajectory, your magic, your personal magic. It's a really cool place in space. Now, the reason why it's so cool is because the magnetic monopole operates through the nodes. So here's the G center. Literally, the magnetic monopole sits in gate 2, and everybody has a monopole, whether you have gate 2 with a planet in it or not. So what's happening is that there's a connection between you, the body, and you, the personality, here. So in order for us to change your frequency from not self, bitter, resentful, and all the other things, frustrated, angry, what have you, we need to have you operate it in alignment. And this is what strategy and authority does. It begins the process of allowing your monopole to function correctly. Because if you're not following your strategy and authority, you're initiating, you're making decisions from mind. What happens is the monopole can't hold you to you. It won't function properly. And so then what happens is your perspective is off. You're seeing everything through shit colored glasses, I like to say, because you can't see through the shit. You're focused on the shit rather than the way that you're designed to see when you're not operating in alignment. So I'm going to read a quote from Ra now. It's the very work of the nodes to hold you together. The monopole operates through the nodes, holding us together in this illusion of separateness, us being separate from totality. That's my little side note there. And now he says, and moving us along the line of our geometry. I've said this phrase over and over again in my first lecture in 1992. This is the great story. It really is. It's the most beautiful thing for me, underlying the understanding of everything. All the mechanics that I understand is this story right here. Just seeing that this is why there's that choicelessness, helplessness. Without this functioning properly through that magnetic monopole, nothing works correctly. So that's why we're starting with the body and getting you aligned to the frequency of your truth in your vehicle. So another way we can think about these nodes are the themes that we are molded by in this life. So let's imagine we're driving down the road. There's beautiful trees and flowers. You know those roads where there's trees overhanging and it's like you're driving through a cave? So freaking cool. Okay, that's a different story than when it changes to dried grassy hills and the grass is so long it's waving and it looks like the ocean because it's waving through the wind, right? It's a totally different feeling. And when you're in the forest, you're going to fulfill a different life purpose than when you're in the wide grassy plains, because there's different substances there, different people, different environment, different place and space, different path. So what Ra calls these nodes, the themes, he says you might call it the weather. It's related to your journey through the years. So the weather of your first part of your life is this south node. That's the weather. That's the walk. That's the path. Second part of your life is the north node. Okay. So there's a very distinct shift. And guess what we call it? Midlife crisis. Just went through it. It's challenging. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So the more not self you are, the more challenging it is. So our journey through the years, these nodes sometimes create part of our definition. Right now we see in the transits, we know in the transits, it's creating. So everybody who's being born these last few months, it's a good long time, are all born with this as their path that they're walking or that they're seeing. Depends on when, they're going to be born. So with regards to the nodes, it's always there as part of our definition, even if you're moving from, those three channels, the 3420, the 4037, and the 2343. Those are the three that make us human. Busy know-it-alls in community. That's basically what we are as humans, generally. So the nodes, even though that might be split, around age 40, it's still always part of your definition. So don't worry that, oh, I don't have my north node, especially if it's in a channel. Don't worry. It's still there. It's just that it's like a long, long road that you're driving on in a city, and it begins with one name. And at the end, because it's such a long road, it changes to a different name. It's the same road. Okay. It's the same path. So it's the most important part of looking at a body graph above and beyond your incarnation cross, because it makes another cross as well, a little tiny cross like that. Okay. Because it's usually not far apart like the 88 degrees of your incarnation cross. So your incarnation cross is something that is what your life's work is, and where you fulfill your life's work is on that nodal environment. Okay. So that is how we're going to understand the themes that you're molded by. If you grew up in an inner city, conflicted environment, you are going to grow up very differently than if you were in a rural area out in the boondocks, or like where I was in Hawaii, where there was not even a stoplight in the towns that I lived in. So it's very, very different. Mechanics, again, midlife crisis, Uranus opposition. Okay. So your first half is here and your second half is here. Unconscious is where you be. Conscious is how you see. So the environment that we're going to talk about today is nurturing, first part of your life, especially nurturing your correctness so that you can fulfill your task, your life's work. And then when you've got this aligned through strategy and authority, now we can see correctly. Now the seeing, it's challenging. We're going to talk more about that down the road, but the seeing vacillates back and forth. However, when you're correct, you're aligned to seeing how you need to see in order for your conscious motivation to move you to action. So it's a big, big step that we're making, a journey. And if you see your nodes, whether conscious or unconscious, you see the themes of your nodes, then you know you're in the right place. Roads of direction mechanics. Now, you can deconstruct these nodes in a lot of different ways, but I've got the core elements for you to look at in that presentation here to give you an idea of the stage that you're on, okay? Your incarnative path. So your life stage that you carry around with you, you actually carry it around with you. So it doesn't have to be a specific, point on a map, because it's not about that, although you will be drawn to the right point on the map when it's right for you. So imagine that you're walking around with that stage and you're attuned to seeing that on the stage. Some of us are more focused and some of us are more peripheral. Some of us are more active and some of us are more passive. But everywhere you go, you're going to be attuned to seeing and being where those nodes are describing for you to see and be. So it's setting a stage and it's the background frequency of your life. So it provides scenery, just like we were talking about driving through those trees or out in the plains, provides scenery that you're attuned to seeing. And it also shows people, the forces that are going to populate that scenery. Remember, if it's people that actually have those gate activations, you're going to be attuned to them because they're designed to be on your path. Now, do not look at let's say, this is what Lavina did. Don't do what Lavina did. Back in the day when I first found this out and, online dating. Can I look at your human design chart? Oh, you're not my type. Goodbye. or, oh, you're not I don't have any connection with you. Goodbye. Just make sure that you're doing this in alignment with strategy and authority. Background characteristics. Really, really important to recognize that this is your life, your script in the most advanced reading you can do. And I've got them all. The most advanced reading you can do is called storyline, and it takes your story and sets your stage up. This is the environment, the context of the environment of the people that you're going to meet in your process. He says, and you finally get to see what your life is about, not simply because it's something that you can analyze, but it's something that you can actually live, so that you can establish that foundation, so that you can express as outer authority the awareness that is possible for you.